Hi everyone, hi Mariah. Welcome to today's episode where we will dive into the educational barriers faced by low income students and explore how these limitations shape their opportunities. It's a reality that education often paves the way to better job prospects, but what if access to quality education isn't equal? Today's discussion is inspired by findings from the report, which name is Balancing Work and Learning Implications for Low-Income Students. This document highlights key issues for low-income working learners, and we will discuss the situation in Latin America where many students face similar challenges. As a context, in Latin America, financial constraints make it difficult for many low-income students to access higher education. And according to the report, these students often have to work long hours to support themselves, leaving them with limited time for academic pursuits. And this is especially prevalent in countries where tuition is high and financial help is limited. And the reality in Latin America is that while education is highly valued, structural challenges prevent many students from completing their studies. For example, students from poorer backgrounds are more likely to attend less selective institutions and which may not have the same resources as the top universities, and this also creates a very big gap in education equality. And for first question, I want to ask you, Mariah, why do you think these barriers persist, and how do they impact employment opportunities after graduation?
I think these barriers persist because of the educational systems in our economy, as well as, obviously the economic systems, and how low income students definitely don't have as much access to resources as those from a better off background. Because of that, most of these students have to work during their college career or their educational career, making it that they have less time to focus on academics. And because of that, they often don't get to devote as much time as they'd like into their education, which makes it harder for them to find a job after graduation because they were focusing on jobs in order to support themselves during their time, opposed to possibly doing internships and getting more experience in the field that they're interested in order to help find a better career after graduation.
Yeah, that's the like a very hard reality for some low income students. And now I want you to know, what do you think about how might we address these issues, and could stronger connections between education and the labor market help?
I think stronger connections between the education and labor market would definitely benefit most people, especially considering that most students are increasing their stress levels as they're looking for jobs. And if there were programs such as paid internships that were possibly even government incentive programs for companies, these students could even have a better chance at getting a career because they were able to gain such experience while still being paid for their time in order to keep themselves afloat while still doing their education. And even programs such as maybe a loan forgiveness program would even be better to help these students not feel so stressed out over their academics while they're still just trying to get their education and still keep themselves afloat economically, so they're not experiencing any negative outcomes to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I want to add that the report that I was talking about at the beginning suggests that early career counseling and the integrating work-based learning from high school could prepare students better. Well, so I have another question for you. And it's considering these barriers, what specific policies or initiatives could help low income students not only access but also complete their education successfully?
Like I was saying before, I definitely think like paid internship programs would definitely benefit lots of low income students and the loan forgiveness programs because it would help take off a lot off their minds, as well as possible work study programs and just programs directly associated with their interest in the field that they're looking to graduate with a degree into. And with that, it'll help students be more focused on their academics and have to worry less. And even then, even programs such as helping them get connected to employers and after graduation career programs will help students get their life started in a way that they don't feel so stressed on what they're going to do after graduation when they were possibly struggling to even get their academics done in a way they felt very proud of during their school year due to all the stressors and financial aspects.
Yeah, and also one of the biggest barriers low income students face is the need to balance work with their studies. The report shows that students who work more than 15 hours a week often experience a drop in academic performance. And in Latin America, students often work even more to cover expenses, interacting, what, and this is gonna impact in their grades and limiting time for internships or networking opportunities that can that will be help in their careers. And additionally, low income students are less likely to have access to financial safety needs. They may turn to credit cards or take on high interest loans to pay for education costs, creating a cycle of debt that further limits their ability to advance. And also, financial stress can contribute to higher dropout rates among these students, as you mentioned before. And now I wanted to ask you the last question, and it's about technology. So, what do you think if low income students face so many barriers to completing their education? What role could technology or online learning play in leveling the playing field? And could digital resources or virtual internships open up new paths for these students to gain skills and experience? What do you think?
I definitely do think virtual internships and any online resources can definitely benefit these students. But I think when you think about that, you also have to take into effect the access some of these people might have. There might be people that don't have access to reliable internet or even a good computer and a quiet space to even do some of these programs. And I think that's especially important to realize, especially as Genesis was telling me her current situation in Ecuador. And I think that just goes to show that not everyone has access to things most people feel like are normal. Like good internet might not be something they can have. And so because of that, they'd probably have to commute to an area where they can get good internet and a nice quiet space. But with that comes a possibly long and strenuous commute, adding more stress onto the person than they might have already had.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. For example, here in Ecuador, we have a very big electricity crisis, and um, here we have lights and, of course, internet only in some universities, which are very, very expensive. So for sure, the low-income students, we will not have the opportunity to access to even to internet. So for sure, they can't access to the other technology or virtual classes is very hard for them. So yeah, that's the situation here in Ecuador, and I think in other countries from Latin America too. And okay, so for end. Today we discuss the educational barriers for low-income students, focusing on financial constraints, limited access to selective universities or institutions, and the impact on the career opportunities. These challenges highlighted the report. Um, it shows that while talent exists across socioeconomic backgrounds, access to resources is uneven. And this inequality affects not only to the academic success of these students but also their long-term job prospects, as they often miss out on experiences and network that are essential for their career growth. And that's it. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this conversation sheds light on the importance of addressing educational inequality.